Our Saturday triple header continues here at the USA Ultimate US Open Championships in Blaine, Minnesota. And this international event, you always wonder, will a team outside of North America make a splash? And the answer in 2017 is a resounding yes. Colombia Revolution ready to take on Seattle Riot here from the National Sports Center. This is the top half of the bracket. We'll see Fury and Molly Brown later today. You may realize that the defending champion Boston Brute Squad not in the Final Four. That is because Revolution knocked him out. And with that, we welcome you in. Evan Lepler, Megan Tormey, delighted to have you with us. Arguably the story of the tournament. The women from Colombia, Medellin, their hometown, they have just put on a show playing with passion, style. They're a lot of fun to watch.
They are a lot of fun to watch, and it's amazing to see them take on our favorites going into this tournament. They have a fearlessness that has paid off well so far.
Well, we'll see how they can fare against this Seattle Riot team. But this program, built in the mid-2000s by Mauricio Moore, he made a commitment to coaching women's ultimate, and from the ground up, they have built this team to being silver medalist in London at WUGC, to being silver medalist at the World Games in Poland. And we are excited to introduce you to the Cardenas sisters. Number 8, Manuela. Number 33, Valeria. They just turned 18 years old last week, and they are just scratching the surface of the stars they can be.
You would pay good money to have one of these sisters on your team, but to have two is incredible. They both play with so much passion. They're both so athletic. When they get the disc, they're just monsters on the field.
Of course, Seattle Riot has plenty of defenders to throw at them. This Seattle team has been in the mix for a national title for so many years, but they haven't won one since 2005. They did get the World Championship in Lecco 3 seasons ago. But this might be the squad to rise back into the #1 spot, and that's because Sarah Surge Griffith is finally healthy again.
And she's a person who lives up to her nickname. Surge is a player who consistently plays at a level most of us can't even hope to reach on our best game. She's fast, she's super focused and dialed in. She is difficult to guard and plays with a lot of heart.
One of the many stars on Seattle that you probably already know. We're excited to introduce you to the women from Medellin who play with an energy that is hard to find in this sport. They warm up by dancing. We'll dance during the break, and we've got the opening pull when we come back to Blaine, Minnesota. The US Open Ultimate Championships are presented by Discraft Ultrastar. Find the official disc of USA Ultimate at more than 1,900 US retail locations. Starting lineups for Colombia Revolution. We talked about Manuela Cardenas in the Open. Elizabeth Mosquera is a fierce cutter as well. And this team is just really interesting in how it's put together. They play with an energy. Akina Young, very dangerous downfield. Aleja Torres, she'll be out there presumably for most offensive points. She's the leader in assists. Seattle Riot is well taking the field. Andy Loveseth has been the coach for a while. Rory Titcomb battling back from injury on the staff, and Gwen Ambler expecting her first child this fall, I believe. Sarah Griffith, Khalees Cardenas, Gina Titcomb, good to see her back on the field with Nora Landry, Cassie Swafford, Charlie Eide, and Julia Snyder. Seattle Riot has been oh so close the past couple of years. They dominated pool play, a 2-point win over Fury to get past the women from San Francisco, and now the Seattle team at 5-0 on the weekend, trying to stay perfect on a pretty perfect afternoon in Minnesota. It's hard to believe it was around 50 degrees on Thursday here, but it warmed up. It drizzled for just about 10 minutes yesterday, but for the most part, it has been picture perfect, not too windy, great conditions for Ultimate. And let's just sit back, relax, and enjoy this, because we don't really know what to expect. Revolution, obviously, they beat Brute Squad. They had 2 losses to the team from Japan, Mud, and to Molly Brown. The Seattle Riot team, very, very talented, but the women from Colombia certainly have a propensity to surprise. There's a glimpse of the wind making an impact and soaring in for the interception. Jimena Montaña with the D, and then Revolution turns it right back over. You may notice early in the game that the numbers on the backs of the Revolution players are very difficult to read when you're standing next to them. So from up here in the booth, we'll do our best. The font police are taking the weekend off and hence have not gone after the women from Medellin. Don't mess with the font police, though. Oh, fortunate Snyder able to catch it off the deflection from Ferrero. But Megan, you can see here on this opening point, Riot's gonna punch this in, but every throw was difficult and contested.
Every throw was contested, and there were 2 Ds from Colombia. I think this is going to be indicative of the entire game. They're not going to let anything go by.
There's Serge Griffith getting the turn back. And then Gina Titcomb. She got hurt nationals last year. And after going through the ACL recovery, she's back. And she throws an assist in the semifinals to get us started.
It's a nice way to start your return to Ultimate.
And of course, Gina, the youngest of the 5 Titcomb siblings. Her older sister, Gina, on the sidelines. And then there's Zaylin, Exton, and Vero. Of course, all 5 Titcombs have a silent H in their first name, because why not?
And correction, it's the older sister, Rory, who's on the sideline. Gina.
Oh, that's why you're
her
here.
name is so great, it's worth mentioning twice. But Rory said she hopes to be back for the season. If not, she should be back in working order by nationals. But until then, she still gets to hang out with the team and help lead them to glory from the sideline.
Aleja Torres, number 1. Very prominent in moving the disc. She played a club season with Riot in 2009 and played Worlds with Riot in Prague in 2010. And some contact, but Laura Espina just pops right up and finds Manuela Cardenas in the end zone. And certainly from the first 2 offensive points, it doesn't take a genius to see who worked it down the field easier.
That's right. There was no potential for a D, even though they were playing really close. Some little give and go between some of the handlers on Colombia. Riot having just a little bit of trouble clamping down on D as these women took it down the field.
All 7 females that were on the Colombian World Games team are on this team. The 2 Cardenas sisters, Aleja Torres, Laura Espina, who picks up the assist here, and also Elizabeth Mosquera, Maria Angelico Ferrero, and Gina Cartagena. And it's unfortunate we haven't mentioned Cartagena till now, because she is not an afterthought on this team. She is as impact a player as you get as well. Laura Espina Gomez with the assist.
It can't be stressed enough that 7 of these women played for Colombia on Worlds. There's a lot of chemistry between the individuals on this team, not only because of their experience in World together, but a lot of these women have been playing together for upwards of 8 years.
Yeah, the core of this team has been together for just about a decade now. They are the dominant force in Colombian women's ultimate. You think of in the U.S., you got Riot and Fury, and the last couple of years Brute Squad, and Molly Brown is in that top 4, and Scandal is lingering. In Colombia, it's Revolution and everybody else. In terms of women's college ultimate, it might be Jacqueline Verjou and everybody else over the next couple of years. Verjou, number 22 in the white jersey out there for Riot. This is Shira Stern. The zone defense giving Riot some issues, and they morph into the matchup D when Riot gets it to midfield. Now, I think, Megan, oftentimes U.S. teams count on international teams to not be as disciplined, and this Revolution team doesn't fulfill that stereotype. They play with a discipline that you can tell they're well coached, you can tell they're prepared, and you can tell they expect to be competitive and to win.
That's a great point, and Coach Moore was talking about his long-term projections for this Colombia team. Their goal is worlds in the future. So they have come here to face some of the competition they will likely face in worlds next year. That shows excellent forethought that you would take the time, spend the money to travel to a tournament this year to help get your women prepared for the following year.
Well, Dominique Fontenette with the score. Dominique Fontenette won the Callahan Award before the Cardenas sisters were born. Well before. But she is still a dominant player, even at age 42, originally from Arkansas. Fantastic cutter, clutch performer. Fontenette makes it 2-1, a turnover-free point from Seattle.
Definitely a point where they had to work hard together to move that disc down the field. Colombia changed their defense twice during that point. And I was watching them during Showdown. They changed their defense 3 times in one point. They went from zone to forcing backhand to forcing forehand, and everybody was on board. Changing defenses in the middle of the point can be a little bit dicey if people are not prepared to catch on. But they're very good at transitioning that D, which can make working your offense or developing that flow even more difficult. Riot did a good job of being patient, but it still forced them to throw quite a few throws before they could actually score.
Well, one of the focuses for Seattle Riot this year is on decision making, especially early in the season, because they realize that they can't continue to play loose and win a national title, and they're being very purposeful about trying to improve their decision making early on. Manuela Cardenas chased by Bailey Zahnizer. Cartagena's throw behind Cardenas, who bids as much as anybody in the women's game, but unable to come up with that one. And Revolution turns it over for the first time on offense as Zahnizer launches deep for Stern. And you can see the athleticism from Forero catching up and making that a tough catch for Stern. Great defense.
Great closing speed, too.
Nice high release throw. Cartagena using the width of the field, but fires off the hand of Angel. There is a pick called. One thing I love about the international teams, their hand signals on the field are excellent. Teams from around the world are so much more accustomed than American teams to making the hand signals when they make the call. It's just something they've been conditioned to do. And you notice it at World Championship events. You notice it at an event like the US Open. Oh, Kelly Johnson rising up over Laura Ospina. It looked like Ospina was there, but Johnson ripped it away. You've been teammates with Kelly Johnson.
She is one of my most favorite teammates ever. The passion that she plays with is one thing, but her hard work, the work she expects from her teammates is nothing she isn't willing to put forth herself.
First break of the game goes to Riot as Shira Stern catches the score. You know, it's interesting. It looked like Ospina had the disc and then lost it, and right into the hands of Johnson.
Yeah, I think it bounced off of her thumb and into Johnson's hand.
It's Lucy Williams, formerly of Seattle, Mixtape with the assist. Check this out. Yeah, it wasn't a strip, it didn't appear. It's amazing that off the deflection, Johnson still came down with it so smoothly.
Well, that heads-up play is no shocker coming from Kelly Johnson.
Well, Shira Stern has definitely taken a step forward, the former University of Washington standout. And Lucy Williams has gained a bunch of props from her teammates for how quickly she has made the transition from mixed ultimate to women's ultimate this year with Seattle Riot. Also out of the University of Washington. You gotta like how quickly Revolution moves the disc.
You know, if a team is able to throw a good zone, that means during practice they've frequently played against a good zone. Revolution does come out with a couple of really good zone looks, which means their offensive line is ready for this.
That's a great point. You know, coming into the tournament, a lot of people probably thought, well, Revolution has a handful of great players, but do they have the depth to compete with these club teams over the course of multiple days in 3 different games a day? And they've really been competitive, obviously, in every game they played. Their 2 losses were a 3-point loss to Molly Brown, 15-12, and a 1-point loss, 15-14 to Mudd. So Revolution went 1-2 here on Friday, with a 1 win being against the 2-time defending champs.
I spent some time talking with Maddie Fry before the game, who was playing with Revolution today, but I think an injury is going to take her out of the tournament. And she had a lot of interesting points just about what kind of ethos Revolution has. We've said already they play with a lot of heart, but there's a lot of trust and determination, and I think that's what helps them stay in these games that are very close. It doesn't matter if they're down a point, down 2 points. They know that they have the capacity to take the game, and that's helped them.
Well, the patience throughout this point has been impressive. Gradually down the field, and then it's Cartagena connecting with Ospina for the hold. Turnover free. It wasn't as quick as their first 0-point hold, but this one was arguably more impressive.
Right, they showed their ability to work under pressure and to utilize the full width of the field. Torres really making a difference by sending that pass to the break side, opened it up for Ospina. Yeah, that around backhand gave them a wide open look to the front of the end zone. Ospina recognized it, made a quick cut up to the front.
Most of these Colombian women have multiple surnames. So throughout our time covering them this weekend in London, we shortened some of the names. They go by what they're called. Here's Pool A, Molly Brown going 5-0, but it's not like they weren't tested. They really struggled to get past Mudd. Obviously had a tight game with Brute Squad. Revolution gave them a battle as well. And, you know, Texas Showdown, team from Austin, they go 1-4. Traffic goes 1-4, but they were all competitive. This was an incredibly deep pool. What do you expect at the U.S. Open, I suppose?
Well, but at this point in the season, sometimes players or teams can still be working to coalesce. Everyone came looking tournament ready. Obviously, these are some of the top teams that we'll see. They're going to continue to improve. They're going to keep working on things. But for the most part, everyone's coming out showing that even though it's not the end of the season, they're still looking very fierce and in fighting shape.
I think there's a noticeable difference this year with the U.S. Open being 1 month later. This tournament over the past 4 years was held 4th of July weekend, and that extra month of polish and seasoning is very noticeable at a tournament like this. a month later.
That's a really good point. A good example of that is how Bravo didn't fare as well at the Colorado Cup, and here we saw them playing in the semifinals. Just a little bit more time together, getting back Chulit helped them improve and come together as an even tighter squad.
This is Khalees Cardenas. No relation to the twins, but also one of the elite players in the world. Khalees, member of the USA women's national team that beat the Colombian women in the finals in London last year. There's Manuela coming up with a D. Revolution looking for the break to get back on serve. First touch for Mosquera, and there was a pick.
Is it staying here?
When you watch this Revolution team, do you notice the fundamentals and how they catch everything sure-handedly?
Well, that's a testament to their fundamentals, but it's also a testament to how they're being taught to throw to a certain space. They're not having to make ridiculous one-handed grabs because the disc is within the appropriate frame of their body.
That was a tough two-handed catch by Cartagena, but she went up to get it. On the doorstep and just incomplete, rushing it perhaps a tiny bit. Ospina through the hands of Cardenas.
She was just too eager to give her bookends.
A little too hot from too short of a distance. Kirsten Groover. Swafford downfield. This is Bradshaw. And there's a stoppage downfield.
Contest on contest.
Temple, Tinney, Wong, and Wynn. The four orange-shirted observers.
Coming on one. Yes.
Oh, Bradshaw gets the reset to Alex Odie. This is Paige Diddy Soper. Bradshaw winds up, looking for Khalees Cardenas. And it was almost Odie soaring in at the last moment. Second turnover of the point for Riot. Back to live action. The deep shot knocked down by Groover.
Kirsten Groover with the D. Just going back to Riot. Paige Soper to pick up.
Revolution looking for the quick counter attack. The throw wasn't as perfect as it needed to be.
Yeah, a slightly different shape on that disc would have changed the outcome if there had been far more outside of it in. It would have sailed past Groover, back in play, back in field, back in play.
Soper throws into the defense, and it's intercepted easily by Cartagena. Here comes Revolution. Again near the goal line. Ospina, Cardenas, Cartagena working together, and then a fourth member of Revolution comes soaring in for the layout goal.
That's great recognition, great work through a very tight space. Paula notices the small margin she has to work in.
And that's a break for Revolution to get back on serve. I believe that's Akina Young. And we'll give it to Forero. Maria Angelica Forero Becerra to be complete. There's Mauricio Moore, who grew up playing basketball and baseball, discovered the sport when he was in his mid-20s. Guy he played basketball with said, hey, you want to play this? And he was obviously very interested. He became a good player, very athletic guy. But he was about 25 years old, and he made the commitment to start coaching women's and developing the women's program. 39 years old now. He spent some time playing with Seattle Sockeye, played with them in Prague when his wife, Aleja, then girlfriend, played with Riot. And he has become one of the real leaders, obviously, in Colombia, but also, you look around the world and not too many people have done in their countries what Mauricio Moore has done in his.
Interestingly, Maddie Fry, who used to play on Riot, that's how she knows Aleja. She went to Colombia, hosted a clinic in 2009, and the Cardenas sisters were there.
Yep. Well,
at just 9 years old.
That was probably at TEP. They held it for the first time in Medellin in 2009. Oh, and there's a drop from Riot through the hands of Johnson. That tournament every year has become, much like the US Open, an international event. And Mauricio Moore telling us before the game, his great spirit there, realizing the turnover had occurred. TEP is going to happen early May next year. Any American team can apply. There are grants to be applied for financial aid to help get the team there, to travel, hospitality, accommodations while you're there. And by bringing American teams to Colombia, it has dramatically enhanced the competitiveness of Colombian Ultimate. Turnovers coming fast and furious right now. 4 turnovers on the point. Zionizer collects the under, launches cross field. Dominique Fontenette, are you kidding me?
What a fantastic grab. I thought for sure that was blading straight into the ground.
He's been doing this forever.
Unbelievable. Full extension. Completely horizontal.
He's like, enough about these teenage phenoms.
Posterize this.
Dominique Fontenette, national title winner at Stanford, has been all around the ultimate world. Boston, San Francisco, Seattle, grew up in Arkansas, and she has no intention of quitting anytime soon. Why should she? An early candidate to be the Discraft play of the game, that's for sure.
That's going to be tough to top.
She works as an EMT in Seattle. She really makes her own schedule and plans her life largely around Ultimate. And that has been the story for a long time for Dom. We're on serve, Megan. 7 turnovers apiece through the first 7 points. We've had 3 turnover-free points, 2 of which have come from Colombia. And they're looking for a third here. Feels like it's Torres, Cartagena, Cardenas, Ospina doing the heavy lifting for the offense. A rare bit of stagnation from Colombia, but it works out. Verju deflected it. Cartagena caught it, and then Cardenas wide open to the open side. Wow.
That was a very rare moment of stagnation. Don't know that I've ever seen the Colombians standing still. That deflection nearly ended the point or the possession for Colombia. But as soon as the disc was saved, Cardenas reacted.
We asked Mauricio Moore about the Cardenas twins. Are they the same player because they're twins, or do they have their different strengths? He said they absolutely have their different strengths. Valeria Cardenas, much more of a handler. Some of the best breaks in the women's game. Yet they're both freak athletes, obviously. They both love to lay out. They were playing Colombian nationals when they were 10 years old. And since they started playing for Revolution, they have never lost a game at Colombian nationals. Think about that.
That's an incredible factoid to digest.
You'd be smiling too if you hadn't lost a game.
I would be smiling for sure. What an accomplishment from players so young. But the thing I keep thinking about is what impact that will continue to have on their mental game as they start to reach their full athletic potential.
How do you think it'll impact them?
I think that'll make them incredibly difficult to match up against. When you have someone whose mettle has been tested during the most formative years of their life, it's going to give them an edge to calm down any nerves.
Julia Snyder throwing that disc into the ground, and a chance for Colombia to break. Oh, that one over the outstretched reach of Mosquera.
Just going back to Riot on the Revolution turnover.
Snyder picks up. And, I mean, how many times is Manuela Cardenas going to get a D? To the end zone, a bullet for the break. Are you kidding me? That was not Cardenas. That was Montoya. Jimena Montoya with the bookends, the D and the score. Revolution on a 4-1 run against Seattle Riot.
How many run-through Ds has Revolution gotten in this game so far? 4? They're playing so smart, they're taking the edges off the corner.
That throw was ridiculous. This is Valeria. Are you kidding? With the angle and speed and release point, and she was being forced the other way. How did she do that?
She stepped out incredibly quickly. As soon as she stepped out, she got low and swung her arm right behind the Riot player. That enabled it to take that outside in shape, go to the intended receiver. But the fact remains that the way she accomplished that was being incredibly fast. That's how slow we had to slow it down so that you could see exactly what was going on.
That's as good as it gets. Coach Moore knows his players. When he said that Valeria has the best breaks that he's ever seen, I said, how would Aleja feel about that statement? And, you know, she's got good breaks too. But you can see exactly what he means. So now Riot here, Megan, facing a little bit of pressure. They were up 3-1. And now Revolution has scored 4 of the last 5. Charlie Eide. There's contact in the middle of the field, stopping play. Pick is the call. Now, Megan, we watched a lot of that Colombia Brute Squad game. Well, we'll see what happens here in the middle of the field. Certainly contact. And when you don't realize it's coming, it can give you some cobwebs.
Shocked even more.
The thing that stood out from that Revolution Brute Squad game was after they won, they didn't celebrate like they had just knocked off the two-time defending champs. I really couldn't believe it. I thought they'd be going nuts, and they just celebrated the winning gold normally, shook hands, had a pretty positive spirit circle after the game. Of course, Mauricio Moore said, "I've trained them."
If I could wager a guess, I think they're coming in with an awful lot of confidence, knowing that this is what they're capable of doing. It wasn't an upset in their minds.
And the composure has been conditioned. Oh, beautiful shot, Serge Griffith. Threading the needle. Nora Landry, the score.
The setup for Griffith, who indeed threaded the needle. Nearly a D from Colombia.
This is kind of the throw you have to complete to beat this Colombian team, because they don't give you a lot of space.
That's a good point. You can't go with simple up-the-line throws. You've got to be able to utilize the break side, because as we've seen, if you keep going in on that open side, they're fast, they're athletic, they're going to come in and get that disc from you. So unless you start working at the width of the field, getting clever with your break throws, it's going to be easy pickings for them.
Serge Griffith played so well in Poland. Several highlight reel plays. And it was a scary moment for Serge Griffith. You know, she had come back from the injury that she suffered a couple years ago. Wasn't really the same player last year. She was just starting to come back. I remember a year ago at the US Open, she didn't play. Asked her when she would be back. She said, "When I feel like I can play." And at a USA World Game Teams practice, Griffith suffered what looked like another scary injury. Late April in Colorado Springs. Didn't play the rest of the weekend. It turned out it wasn't as serious as perhaps she initially thought. She obviously made the team and went on to make all sorts of spectacular plays in Wrocław. You know, I gotta say, Megan, Manuela Cardenas and Gina Cartagena both have a little Dylan Freechild in their game. The way they move the disc quickly, give and go, run and gun. You don't hear the cross-gender comparison too often, but it's been hard to find people in the men's game to compare to Dylan, because he has seemingly pioneered that style to the extent that which he's become known for it.
Everyone set.
Coming in on three.
Okay.
And these Colombian women, I'm not sure if it's because of the influence of watching him or just the style and the athleticism that they possess to do it. Curious to get your thoughts on that.
They certainly are capable of the same acceleration, the same quick movement. I think there's also a higher level of field intelligence in that they can make that throw and instantly be deciding what they're going to do next.
Turnover free hold, Valeria Cardenas to Laura Ospina.
Laura Ospina brings it in for the Revolution score. That's Medellin 6, Seattle 5.
The 6th turnover free point of the game. The 4th from Revolution.
Cardenas does a great job of moving her mark around with these fakes, and every time she's moved, she's prepared to throw to an open throw that might be coming in. Ospina didn't have a lot of room to work with in that cut. It was right up the front corner of the end zone.
but Cardenas was still able to get it in there.
Of course, Valeria Cardenas and Laura Espina both very involved in a couple victories over USA. Colombian World Games team beat the Americans in the finals at TEP back in May down in Medellin after USA had beaten them earlier in the tournament. And then obviously the first game for both those teams in Poland early Friday morning on July 20th, just a couple weeks ago. A lot of people woke up to the shocking result. Colombia 13, USA 12. It was a wild, wild game in which Colombia led 9-5, and then USA went on a tear, took a 12-10 lead, had multiple O points to win the game, and Colombia's defense was just suffocating. And even more than that, Megan, analysts largely credit Colombia, not to minimize the Colombian men, but the story was the Colombian women and what they were able to do.
I think they continue that dialogue today, this weekend.
No fluke.
Coming one. Okay.
Johnson forced the throw a little bit, but she called a foul.
We have a foul call back to the throw.
No contest.
No contest on the call.
Appears to be uncontested. The disc will come in on 3. Kelly Johnson to put it in play.
In between points, we'll show you exactly what happened.
Elizabeth Mosquera with the
Mosquera gets the D near the goal line.
Disc over the Revolution.
Mosquera has wreaked havoc after helping create a turnover. Although that throw was out of bounds, she did call a foul. Here's the first turnover. Didn't see much contact on the release. I think Johnson's argument was there was contact kind of as she was making the cut.
Well, that wasn't that was the second
Okay,
throw.
you're right, you're right.
Uncontested. The disc will come in on 1. Mosquera to put it in play.
Plays are coming at us fast and furious.
Too fast.
Mosquera, after the foul, gets it back. And a pick will bring it back. Unlike basketball, you can't set screens downfield.
Coming 5.
Mosquera.
Johnson with the active mark. Riot the other way.
Sarah Davis with that takeaway for Riot.
Fontenette. Ma. Zonizer. It's a hold for Riot. We're even at 6.
Riot stack was really close to the handler set, but still it didn't cause clogging in the lane. Here's the turnover that set that possession in motion. And that break throw from Johnson to Fontenette is really what helped open up things for Riot. Colombia was scrambling to catch up with the momentum that had just been generated, how far they had been able to move the disc. You notice Callie had a pretty easy catch unmarked, and then a nice throw.
Callie Amon now in her 7th year on the team. She spent some time on the sidelines in a coaching role because of injuries. And picks up her first assist to the semi. To Zonizer. It's always interesting when college rivals become club teammates. You look at this team with Zonizer and Odie from Oregon, and Steph Lim from Stanford, going up all against the University of Washington Element folks, not to mention the two Ohio State champions in Swafford and Soper. Offsides in the pull, they'll do it again. Trying to be very developmentally focused early in the season, discussing everything on the sidelines after it happens.
Yeah, Rory Tickholm talked a lot about the importance of this tournament. Of course they want to win. When Riot takes the field, they always want to win. But because they're working on development, they're really focused on how they win. They want to make sure that they're reaching their goals, that they're playing the sets that they want to, that they're learning how to work together as a team and as lines. So it is important to them how this game turns out, not only result-wise, but also how they grow.
Wow, I'm not sure how that got through. All of a sudden, Colombia is on the doorstep and in. That's Forero again. Maria Angelica Forero Becerra. Another turnover free hold from the Revolution offense.
Forero is really good at getting open in just a very small amount of space. In this throw, we see it's right at the front of the end zone line. Really not a lot of room to work with. She's standing still, makes her move, kind of catches her defender off guard a little bit. But that's her style. She'll be stationary until she's ready to move, and in just a few steps, she's able to create that separation.
Valeria Cardenas has thrown the last 3 Revolution scores. How about this? We were certainly curious, would this Revolution team have enough in the tank? Their 3rd game of the day. Their 6th game in the last 34 hours or so against a team like Riot, and so far they are neck and neck.
And all of their games have been so close and so hard fought. It's one thing to play that number of games, it's another thing to play games where mentally you're having to stay focused because every single point is a battle.
They didn't have easy wins.
No.
Their wins were 14-11 over Brute Squad, 15-13 over Traffic, 14-12 over Showdown. Disc landed in, bounced out the back. What a pull. Riot certainly struggling to figure this team out. Gina Titcomb launches for Khalees Cardenas. Oh, and the pressure again from behind. This time it was Cartagena who caught up to make the play.
Cardenas both had the position and the steps to make that play work, but you're right, the from behind defensive pressure from Colombia cost her that disc.
Ensuring there would be no second effort. Can you speak to the mindset of a player if you feel those footsteps coming at you? I mean, Cartagena didn't get the disc, but she still deserves credit for the D. As an offensive player, I'm sure Khalees feels like she should have had it, but you can speak to the fact that it's not that easy.
Yeah, when you hear those footsteps and are not exactly sure where that player is, instantly you feel like I have to get it now or I'm going to lose this opportunity. Cardenas still had, like I said, just a couple of steps to make that play, but she heard her player coming. I think she bid before she was mentally, physically ready. It caused that slight bobble that, like I said, then cost her the disc.
And that's the footsteps. The footsteps cause you to leap too soon. It throws off your timing. So even if you can't get the disc, you're a young player, be the footsteps. Tough catch through the contact. Play on. Oh, and then it's Charlie Eide on the mark. Got a piece of that release. Back to Riot. At the moment, Colombia is up a break. Trying to go up another one, and Eide cancels the throw.
Rory Titcomb also mentioned that they have been working on their marks this season. That's one of their defensive goals, and I think Eide has been taking those lessons to heart. That was a great mark. She kept her eye on where the disc looked as though it might go, and that's how she was able to just swat it away.
Gina Titcomb keeps the disc alive and then calls a foul. Yeah, Megan, marking is an interesting thing. I think very subtly, it's one of the major separators from the good teams to the great teams, because it's hard to really notice and pick up on, but the great teams, the way they change their marks from stall 2 to stall 5 to stall 7, the way they use their sidelines to an advantage and have a game plan that involves taking something specific away. I'm not sure we appreciate that enough.
It's hard to appreciate because it doesn't generate an obvious stat. But the impact can be quite profound. Can cause a team to simply implode because the offense they had planned to come with doesn't work anymore.
Oh, good to see Griffith pop up. Ospina landed on the lower leg area of Griffith. Not the first time she's been knocked down. And a tough catch from Odie. And Ospina's going to get a TMF, a blue card, for that dangerous bid. And I think that's a good decision from the observer.
3.
Not a huge consequence to that, but it sets the tone. Not that this game was on the verge of getting out of control. But again, Riot forced that throw deep. Soper trying to get it to Griffith, but you see Cartagena had poached off, and she'll take the timeout. Colombia with 70 yards to march to try to take it to half and go up another break against Seattle Riot. Soper is a shooter. It's what she does. For most shooters, it comes down to making the right decisions, because we know that they can make those throws. It's the decisions that are the tough part.
I don't even think the decision was necessarily so bad, but it came out way too fast. I mean, Griffith is an incredibly fast player. You can count on her to both close well and also lay out if necessary. But I think she just wound up a little too much. You notice that her face turned away from downfield, and anytime you do that, you're really corking your body. You're really going to send that disc far. It was just more power than was necessary for the given situation.
Rare to see Mauricio without his trademark hat. That hat looks good, but it is not the wide-brimmed, curly-brim hat that if you see it, you know what we're talking about.
Maybe that's his business hat.
Yeah.
He'll don it when business is done.
Winner of this game gets the winner of San Francisco Fury and Denver Molly Brown. I'm not sure anyone imagined that Revolution from Medellin would take half in a semifinal game at the 2017 US Open. They are about 40 yards away from doing so. Manuela Cardenas just getting open with ease against Serge Griffith. Mosquera. Cartagena looking to the end zone. Revolution takes half on Riot. Akina Young with the goal. Second break for this Colombia defense to take the lead after they got back on serve at 3-all.
Man, what a beautiful put. They've showed us that they can work in tight spaces, that they can work with short throws. We haven't seen a ton of long bombs from Colombia, but this is something they really shocked a lot of teams with today. That a great example that they are capable of stretching the field and stretching it well.
8-6, Revolution leads Riot. You saw this coming, right, Megan?
I, in no way, shape, or form, thought that this would be impossible. After watching them today and yesterday, I thought they definitely have the grit to take a team like Riot.
8-6, Colombia leads Seattle at the half. We'll chat with Mauricio Moore, the head coach of Colombia, in just a moment. He said earlier today, this is the first step to beating Worlds. This is the first step to winning Worlds, and they're going to have to beat the best American teams on American soil in Cincinnati in 2018. And certainly a fine first half for the women from Medellin. Mauricio Moore, thanks for joining us down on the field. Your thoughts on your team's performance in that exciting first half?
Yeah, it's, I mean, Riot's a really good contender, and this is, I think we're playing really good and having a lot of fun.
I'm glad you guys are having a lot of fun. Certainly there must be some adjustments you're thinking of making going into the second quarter to make sure you keep up the intensity. What might those be? Yeah,
I mean, the win is helping us a lot. We're adjusting their hacks. They really like the hack. We're stopping it and make them make some passes, and then this is helping us a lot.
We asked you this earlier, but what was your expectation for this team coming into this particular tournament?
Yeah, we're warming up for Worlds. I mean, this team is gonna win Worlds next year, 2018. So we are starting here, warming up with this team. U.S. teams are really good. We're gonna face them. Worlds are gonna be in United States, so we have to fight them and to face them and have fun. That's the main purpose of all of this. Have fun.
How has this team developed its personality?
You know, it's young. We have a lot of girls that comes from junior, and they're, you know, this personality is just like, they just like dance and have fun and be friends. So our personality, I would say the Colombian personality is happiness.
A lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Mauricio, you looks like you're having a good time. Go enjoy it. Have fun out there.
Thank you.
Mauricio Moore, head coach of Colombia Revolution. They have taken half on one of the perennial powers of the United States, Seattle Riot. 8-6 at the break. Seattle Riot with work to do, trailing 8-6 at the break. They led 3-1. They got the early break, but then the break back to tie it at 3. We were tied at 4s, tied at 5s, and then a strong close to the half from Revolution.
Yeah, they have certainly been determined to show how dominant they are in this sport. We see so much quick athletic movement from them. I think it's taken Riot a little bit by surprise. They've had a hard time adjusting to how quickly Revolution can move the disc, how gritty they're going to be in their play.
Manuela Cardenas, so impactful early in the game, both defensively and offensively. You know, one thing about this Revolution O-line, Revolution turned it over 10 times in the first half. The O-line, Megan, only turned it over twice. Riot was 1 for 2 on break chances, but Riot's O-line turned it over 8 times, and Revolution was 3 for 8 on break chances, and that's how we've gotten to 8-6.
It's so vital when your offense can be as perfect as Colombia's is being today. It makes sure your D gets back on the field immediately so they can start generating opportunities. Here we see that amazing breakthrow from Cardenas.
Ridiculous release point from Valeria Cardenas. That was to take half. Akina Young with the score to make it 8-6. Dawn Fontenette's bid was remarkable, but her team trails by 2 at the intermission. A berth in the championship game tomorrow is on the line. The middle matchup of our triple header, Fury and Molly Brown later tonight. Second half of Revolution and Riot on the way. Seattle trails Colombia, and Riot captain Cassie Swafford joins us down on the field. Cassie, I imagine there are things that you want Riot to improve, but first a question about the Revolution team. Are you able to appreciate what they are doing in the sport of women's ultimate?
Oh yeah, so much. I mean, they're like traveling all around to play all these great teams. They're making huge names for themselves. And they're doing it in such a spirited and positive way. It's just a real honor to get to play them at this tournament.
This is the second time in the last 2 weeks you've had to face an international team. 2 weeks ago you played the Eurostars team on their tour. Now you're facing the Colombia Revolution. How do you prepare for an international team that you really don't know a ton about, even if you know some of the individual players?
Yeah, the scouting is really hard. We're used to playing teams that we see all the time and people that we know very well. So I think we rely on whatever film there is, which is pretty minimal. But I think we kind of have a sense for the style that different teams will play, and so we prepare for that. And we try to learn our matchups really quickly within the first few points.
Cassie, the nitty-gritty of the first half, what does Seattle Riot have to do better in the second half to come back and win this thing?
Step up our defense. We're going to be changing a lot on our defense, and I think that's first and foremost the key to making this game go a different direction for us.
Rory extolled your graces as a leader and said you're so good at connecting people on the individual level. You guys are down at half. You don't often see that. What are you going to do to make sure people are bringing their good mental game the second half?
I think we're just really appreciative of the challenge that we're facing right now. Every moment that we have from here until October is a growth opportunity for us. So, you know, I think people are excited about the challenges in front of us.
I know you guys get excited for challenges. You got one ahead of you. Good luck in the second half, Cassie.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for joining us. We got the second half between Revolution and Riot coming up. 8-6. Revolution up by 2 breaks and receiving when we return. Quick look at the scoring summary from the first half. Ospina had the first assist for Revolution, and then it was Cartagena and Cardenas. Gina Paula Cartagena and Valeria Cardenas with all the assists for Revolution. Seattle Riot spreading it around. Seattle Riot pulling to Revolution, receiving with a 2-goal lead. Megan, what do you think about Cassie Swafford's comment about their team's defense and the adjustments they're going to make in the second half?
Well, I think it's great that they recognize defensive pressure is going to make a big difference, considering how we were talking about how perfect Colombia's Revolution's offense has been. So they're recognizing a key tenet where they can make a big difference almost immediately.
Oh, goodness. Paige Soper was just burned by Ferreira. Back to Cartagena. Couldn't squeeze it through initially to Torres. But goodness, as if it were magic, she became wide open. And that, I believe, is Ferreira again to make it 9-6. 8 turnover-free points in the game, 6 of them from Revolution.
Well, if defensive adjustments were made, they did not make much of a difference that point. Like you said, another perfect possession of offense from Colombia. For a split second, I thought perhaps Riot was going to do something here. The stall was getting higher. There weren't many options coming in. There weren't options around. Then you notice, as Ferreira often does, gets open in very tight spaces.
It's almost as if Soper expected Ferreira to clear, and she just stayed on the pylon. And I mean, this is about as easy as it gets. credit the patience of Revolution. Typically, you think lingering on the pylon is the last thing you want to do in Ultimate, right?
Every coach I've ever had says clear out of there immediately. But in this case, it worked.
Gina, Paula, Cartagena. Johnson will initiate for Riot. Kalima launching. Dom Fontenette has one, and now another. The doctor back to work in the end zone.
That was a beauty of a put from Ma. Here we see her. So much flick on the disc, so much spin. Makes it an easy catch for Fontenette. But you really got to give credit to Fontenette for reading the disc the way she does. She doesn't arrive to it too quickly, make sure that she keeps her defenders at her back, so she's reaching out to catch the disc as opposed to drawing the defenders in closer where they could have potentially made a bid.
Important turnover-free hold for Riot, just a third of the game for the Seattle O-line. And you mentioned it, just a picture-perfect toss from Kalima out of Western Washington University. But in order to win this game, Seattle's defense is going to have to create turnovers, and even more importantly, they're going to have to capitalize on them. There's Steph Lim coming over from San Francisco Fury, where she's played the last few years. See Griffith, Khalees Cardenas out there for this deep point. The sisters connect. There's Cartagena. 20-on-20 match of Cartagena and Heidi. Shooting it to the end zone, and Ospina's flick trails off wide. An opening for Seattle.
We haven't seen too many errors like this from Colombia. Normally when they move the disc over to the sideline, they're pretty good about bringing it back into the middle, sometimes even across the other side of the field.
Lim and Torres enjoying a moment after Aleja Torres was a little confused that Lim was marching up the sideline, but the throw did not come back in bounds, so she gets it from where it went out. Oh goodness, Bradshaw right through her fingertips. That's an unforced error. Will Revolution pounce? Ooh, too much on that blading flick from Torres. And a deep shot. Khalees Cardenas. Oh, Mother Nature may want Revolution to win this game because that disc just popped up at the last moment unexpectedly. Valeria Cardenas looking for Cartagena. It was deflected. What just happened?
And there's the toss that you think is just a textbook catch for Seattle, but as you said, the wind gently lifted it out of Riot's outreaching hands. And what a beauty of a put. That was read perfectly by Heidi, or so she thought, deflecting it not nearly far enough.
The adjustment from Cartagena,
who is smiling the entire time.
Gina Cartagena, so difficult to contain. 10-7, Revolution leads. Well, there you go. Cardenas fortunate to pick up the assist. Couple turnovers per side on that point. But yet Riot still just one break in 4 chances. That, at the moment, is not going to get it done. Swafford wants Griffith. Mosquera got there to help, and then it was intercepted by Young. Mosquera launching. Oh, what a read! Are you kidding? This is getting a little spooky. Revolution with another miraculous score. Unreal.
First, the throw from Mosquera, which looks to be a little bit dicey as 2 Riot defenders are closing in, but Ricalte reads it well. Then finds herself at the top of the end zone, bobbles the disc, and still manages to pull it in. Ricalte having a red letter point.
Jennifer Ricalte with her first goal of the game, the great read, and then the bobbling catch to secure the break.
I'm sure Espitia is saying a number of thanks to her. You saw her as soon as the disc go off, her hand went straight to her face. But she has good teammates. You can get away with that.
If there were any skeptics, you can't help but start to believe.
I feel like we've been getting a very high dose of what exactly is out there in terms of Ultimate in other countries. With the Eurostar tours and with the way Colombia Revolution has been playing, it's very clear to see that all around the world, the pool of talent is just widening.
Goodness. Manuela Cardenas eats it up on the deep shot to Fontenette, and now they're testing Jacqueline Verjou, and now you're getting greedy. Intended for Cartagena, Verjou disrupted the timing, and it was easily intercepted. Verjou shy of the end zone. Sarah Davis makes it 11-8.
Nice put from Johnson to start this off. Revolution has been sort of truncating their longer game. It's a good point, good throw to get them just outside of the end zone. Davis, who was actually the one who intercepted that play earlier, then finding herself in the end zone for the score.
So a hold for Riot to make it 11-8. How about Manuela Cardenas catching up to Dom Fontenette on Davis's deep shot?
This is exactly what I've wondered.
And then she wanted it all immediately.
I want it all, and I want it all now. This is what I've wondered, you know, when kids start playing Ultimate earlier, when they're getting good coaching earlier, what will they be like when they start reaching the age where they can play in the club division? I mean, we've seen players from Canada, from the United States, who start playing when they're young, 16, 17, and by 18, their athleticism makes them a huge asset to the team. But these are players who have started to play when they were 9 years old, who have been coached well. They're athletic, but their fundamentals are also mostly sound. I know I'm saying that just after Cardenas threw away the D that she got. For the most part, she's had a really mentally strong game in addition to being so athletic.
Manuela Cardenas in pursuit. An easy score from Revolution. And it's 12-8. And this is another spectacular put. Valeria Cardenas.
Wow. That was a fantastic forehand flick. She is an amazing thrower. Watch her whip that disc down the field to her sister.
You said in the Open you'd pay a lot to have one of them, but see what happens when you have both?
Plus, I think there's something about the twin connection. I mean, you see that on Showdown with the Fourth sisters. They're operating on a slightly different level.
The telekinetic sense. Well, that's the 6th huck this half for Revolution, and 4 of them have been converted. That's a pretty respectable percentage. 5 assists against Seattle Riot in the semifinals, and it's interesting, if you're on Seattle, whether it's the coaching staff, captain, or just one of the top defenders, who do you put on Manuela to try to slow her down? Because so far she's getting wherever she wants to go.
That's true. I really like Kelly Johnson for the job. She's as wily and as quick as just about anyone on Revolution.
We'll see.
She'd be my pick.
They often have Vegas out there on offense. She's not out there at this point.
Right, but sometimes in times such as these, you need to change things up.
Let's see if she's out there the next D point for that matchup, perhaps. Julia Snyder looking for Serge Griffith. Griffith and Mosquera collided, and there's no call. Slightly underthrown by Snyder. Another turnover from the Riot offense.
Observer ruling, we don't think goes up. All right, count's coming at 1.
Looked up.
Looked up to me, but I understand the question for sure.
Mosquera. Ricaute. This is Ana Maria Rojas, and they give it back to Ricaute. Revolution right now 4 for 9 on break chances in this game. This is their 10th opportunity. And they're going to get it into the hands of a handler and then call timeout. Rojas will slow it down and allow Revolution to set up as they try to run away with this semifinal against Riot. It's been a variety of defensive pressure from Colombia and just lack of offensive execution from Seattle Riot.
And I have to think that the pressure we've seen from Revolution is what's causing that. Normally Riot so solid on their long game. That throw, I didn't think there was anything wrong with it, but I think Mosquera interfered with Griffith reading the disc, and it's pretty incredible to see someone be able to interfere with a player like Griffith's ability to see where the disc is going.
Just a typical timeout for the ladies from Medellin. Fury and Molly Brown coming up at 8 o'clock Eastern. That's just about an hour from now. San Francisco Fury's only loss in the tournament, a 2-point defeat against this Riot team, and Molly B got the best of Revolution in a close game. Molly Brown had a really tight game with the team from Japan, Mud, earlier today. And it's interesting, entering the final round of pool play, Revolution did not control its own destiny to make it to the semis. They needed to beat Showdown, and they needed Brute Squad to beat Mud. If Mud had defeated Brute Squad, Mud would have been here. Ooh, there's the first real end zone error for Revolution. But if Brute had not beaten Mud in that game, and it was close, down to the wire, I think Brute won by 2, then we'd be seeing Mud here against Riot, and Revolution would be an afterthought in the consolation bracket. Instead, they're 3 points away from the final. Groover to Swafford. Heidi. Snyder swings it. Swafford. This disc just floating into the end zone, and it was dropped by Heidi. So the teams trade end zone drops about 70 yards apart.
But at this point, the error is definitely costlier for Riot.
Mosquera and Griffith both in pursuit. Mosquera's got it. With the stall count rising, Mosquera turns it over.
Both teams starting to look just a little bit fatigued now with the decisions that they are making.
It's understandable. Sixth game in the last day and a half for both these teams. No contest on the bump. Now this is the type of point where we're used to seeing someone like Griffith just take over. To Swafford. Heidi bluffs the flick. Sneaks it through to Snyder. Power position. Who's cutting for her? Nice job setting the mark. And then sneaking it through to Griffith. It's a circuitous hold for Riot to get back within 3.
In terms of high stall throws, that wasn't necessarily a bad decision, just not executed very well on the part of Colombia, on the part of Mosquera. Here we see Snyder with the disc. Really nice, tight throw down the lane. We talked earlier about what it's going to take from Riot in order to win this game. Throws that are just a little harder to execute, like that one, are certainly it.
One goal, 1 assist for Serge. Sarah Griffith, her parents told her she could do anything she wanted to do. And she told her parents when she was young, okay, I want to play football. And her parents said, oh my goodness, what have we done? And she played football. She was a running back, the only girl on the team. She played hockey. And she's tough. She's scrappy. And she's incredibly skilled.
So you have to play those sports.
I mean, when Riot won the World Championship in Lecco, I was not in Lecco, but watching those games from afar, my takeaway afterwards was Riot won because Serge was the best player on the field, the best player in the world in 2014. This is Valeria. Conley takes the reset. Riot has definitely done something to stymie a little bit of the movement, but can they get a block? Great defense by Khalees Cardenas downfield, and yet finally Valeria gets free. Over to Manuela. Ospina. Manuela. This is Cartagena with Zanizer on the mark, and downfield there's a stoppage, a pick. Soft cap will go on after this point. It'll either be 13-9 game to 15 or 12-10 game to 14. Throw from Torres, disrupted by Verju. She didn't even need to touch it, and it was caught anyway by Colombia. How many times is that going to happen to Riot? You're just left shaking your head, and this will be a foul.
No contest.
No contest from Groover.
Coming one.
Like Maddie Gilbert, beg your pardon. Pick in the end zone again. We'll halt play for a moment.
Okay.
Colombia Revolution, founded in 2004. Built up by Mauricio Moore. 2 points away from the championship game at the 2017 US Open. Ospina with another strike.
This is the most offense I think we've seen Revolution play in a single possession. That throw there to Ospina, nearly D'd by Johnson. There was the throw to Angel, who very nearly lost it to Riot, but as you said, the number of times we've seen Riot's D get caught by Revolution again, it's gotta be frustrating for Riot.
Is there anything you can say? I mean, other than catch your Ds, but I mean, that is just a freak thing, and Revolution has gotten the bounces, both by the wind and by just the fortune of the flutter.
I agree with you. I think it is just a freak thing, and teams like Riot already know to catch your Ds if possible. I think that they weren't macking them out purposefully, but rather the deflection was the best that they could do, and it was just really fortunate for Revolution that they were able to catch it.
Riot has played cleaner offense in the second half than they did in the first half. But they just haven't been able to convert the few turnovers they've gotten into breaks. There's a stoppage.
Okay. What number? One. One.
Bradshaw finds Gina Titcomb. Heidi. There's a battle on the mark. Spitia did not contest. Gina Titcomb overthrows Julia Snyder.
Those are also plays that we've seen far more frequently than from Riot than I'm used to. Those high pressure decisions that are ultimately not the intelligent choices we expect from these players.
It's not like the Colombia D-line can't move the disc too. The throwing fundamentals, it's been an exhibition, really has. There's Bradshaw turning on the Jets to get it back for Seattle.
And that D, I was a little surprised she didn't catch, just given their luck this game.
Oh, Bradshaw ruled out of bounds after a heroic effort.
Heartbreaking but fair ruling.
Oh, that was really close. Maybe her knee or her thigh was down in pounds, really hard to tell. Revolution gives it right back, perhaps. Riot deserved the disc all along. Critical times for Seattle, obviously. Gina Titcomb wants the end zone. Mosquera said no. Thou shalt not test Elizabeth Mosquera.
Great effort from Heidi. I'm not entirely sure I like the decision. With Mosquera back there, you know she's going to close the gap. Riot has had some success throwing a one break throw, getting it to the opposing side of the stack. If they had someone following in from those throws, they might be able to generate a little more offense.
Great adjustment from Young, but there was a pick behind the play. The disc is going to stay where it's at. A big gainer to Young from Mosquera. Riot earns it back. Sixth turnover of the point, most any point of the match. Bradshaw. Didn't work. There's a lot of space to either side, the far side and the near side, and she just threw it right at her.
Right down the middle. Those are the hardest discs to catch when you're running towards the end zone, the one that are coming straight back behind you. It's way too difficult to read. You're right, if she had put some IO or OI on the disc, it might have given Heidi some room to run with, but in general, I don't think Heidi was in the best position for a long throw to be put to her.
Now, there was a travel called a couple throws before the turnover. Observers weighing in on the situation down in the field.
No, travel here, comes back here.
And they are going to give it back to Riot.
Yeah.
Griffith will take it.
What What number? 3.
So a bit of a gift for Riot to get it back thanks to the call. Nice swing from Heidi to Titcomb. Griffith. Swafford. So Riot again takes a while, but they do hold on offense.
Griffith doing work to get this disc scored. Earlier, she was streaking deep to try and be an option. Moved herself back into the stack, repositioned herself so she could cut in for that throw. And really just a nice inside put to Swafford. Not an easy throw by any means. Yeah, the way Swafford was running away and towards the end zone line just meant it had to be perfect to get into her hands, and it was.
The luxury for Revolution of building this lead and resting their biggest guns. Cartagena, Ospina, Manuela and Valeria, Alejandra. You could see them applauding the effort from the defensive line, and now they're returning to the field to try to close this thing out. A couple goals away from doing so. Before almost every point, all tournament long, all 7 players will hold hands on the line. This is a together team.
Again, some of the insight I got from Maddie Fry is that I feel as though a lot of what has made Revolution so successful are the intangibles. Things like heart, fortitude, mental edge. These girls all have them in spades. Pardon me, I should say these women have them in spades.
And that's a really impossible thing to quantify, usually. But right now you quantify it by looking at those numbers in the bottom left corner of your screen. I mean, really. Aleja Torres into the red zone. Wide open, into the end zone goes Cartagena again. Gina Cartagena brings Revolution within 1 of the finals. And another turnover-free offensive hold like clockwork.
Cartagena's recognized the potential for her to score before Torres did, and here we go back a few throws. The whole possession just to show how well this Revolution squad works together on offense. The capacity they have to use the entire width of the field, moving it back and forth, making it very difficult. If you watch, Riot is chasing the entire time.
Does Riot ever get to stall 4 or stall 5 on this possession?
I really don't think so.
That drives you crazy as a defense.
Yeah, when you don't have a single second to set yourself up, it means that they are allowed the opportunity, the space, the time to flow as effortlessly as they did.
14-10.
Evan, before the half, you asked me if this is something that I could have predicted, that Colombia would take half 8-6. And that certainly was something that I could have predicted. As I said, I've watched them throughout the tournament. I understand there's something about this squad that's going to be bothersome for any of the teams we consider our top teams. But I never expected them to have this big, this comfortable of a lead on Riot.
They've only been broken once, and it was very early in the game to give Riot a 3-1 lead. Revolution quickly got that break back, and just turnovers like that, you know, unforced, maybe helped out by the consistent pressure. Here we go. Could this send Colombia to the finals? Yes! Viva Revolution! The women from Medellin will play on Sunday at the U.S. Open here in Minnesota.
There's no stopping the celebration this time, much as Coach Moore might like them to. Even he can't stop himself from joining in the fray. They have a lot to be proud of.
Cardenas unable to connect with Verjou. And then Valeri, you could tell where she was looking immediately. How about that throw? Balance, perfection.
You have someone who can put the disc anywhere on the field, like Cardenas can. It's no wonder it's sending this team to the finals.
And Mauricio Moore, a very proud coach after Montaña caught the game-winning score. Seattle Riot won't be in the U.S. Open final this year because the women from South America have stormed the scene. 15-10 Revolution. The U.S. Open Ultimate Championships are presented by Discraft Ultrastar. Find the official disc of USA Ultimate at more than 1,900 U.S. retail locations. The women from Medellin, Colombia will face either Fury or Molly Brown in tomorrow's championship game. They dispatch Seattle Riot 15-10. Mauricio Moore, felicitaciones, mi amigo. How have you conditioned your women to play with such composure?
Oh, wow. You know, we work a lot. We have a lot of players that have been working pretty hard, but the most important thing we did is a fight inside, you know? We were not fighting against any opponent. We were fighting inside, everyone inside, you know, like against your ego, against your things, like trying to figure out what you had to do and what you had to perform inside yourself, and then things are going to happen, and I think it was a great game.
So I found it interesting that this was the easiest game in terms of score-wise that you've had this entire tournament. I have to imagine that it's been very fatiguing on your squad. How's everyone going to feel leading into tomorrow? Do you have enough gas in the tank?
Yeah, I mean, our gas is inside, you know. We're going to get some ice. We're going to get some food. We're going to get some dance. We're going to celebrate because this is big, and what we're going to do tomorrow is going to be bigger. So we have enough gas. Actually, the gas is inside, and for sure we're gonna do a good game tomorrow.
So you've been talking so much about how you're preparing for Worlds next year, but are you taking a moment to allow yourself to recognize what an accomplishment this is? Yeah,
I mean, actually we already did. That's why we're here. It's big. I need to say this. I plan to beat Worlds 2018 since 2004. That was the goal of a team when they born, and we're heading to this, and I think we're going to get it.
You have an appreciation for the history of Seattle Ultimate. You played with Seattle Sockeye. Aleja played with Seattle Riot. How did you beat this team 15-10?
Oh, man. I feel, at some point I feel bad. This is my family. There's a lot of people there that I know. Serge, captains, coaches, people inside that I really love. I spend a lot of time with them. And I think it was a really brotherhood in the game. Around in the sideline, we were hugging, having fun, and that's what Ultimate is. And that was hard, but we know each other. So we did some things that I already knew, and I think it was good. It was a good game.
Well, this community is one big family internationally, and we fight with each other, and we compete with each other, and then we share moments like what your players are doing right now. We'll let you go enjoy it with your team. Congratulations, and hey, hasta mañana.
Yeah, my friend. See you tomorrow.
Mauricio Moore, head coach of Medellin's Revolution, our Discraft play of the game. One of the many great shots from Valeria Cardenas, and Gina Cartagena off the deflection somehow made the catch.
And we said at the beginning of the game, after Fontenette's amazing layout, how could we possibly outdo that? Leave it to this amazing squad from Colombia to continue to just awe and inspire us.
Well said. It was inspirational, the performance from these players in this particular game today. It was awesome. A spirited battle between two teams, and you think Seattle's looking forward to the next time they get to face Revolution?
I do. I think that, as Swafford said, they appreciate the challenge that was in front of them. They learned a lot about themselves. They learned a lot about what other kinds of talent are out there. They're excited.
Certainly not Seattle's best game. We'll see more from them, certainly at the Pro Championships coming up in Seattle Labor Day weekend, but today belonged to Revolution. 15-10 over Riot. We've got Fury from San Francisco and Molly Brown from Denver on the way about 32 minutes from now. For Megan Tormey, I'm Evan Lepler saying so long for the moment. 15-10 Revolution over Riot. All games airing on the ESPN network, streaming live on the ESPN app to watch the entire game on replay, as well as other games on our family of networks. Log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. It's been a presentation of ESPN. Revolution moving on. They'll face either Fury or Molly, and we'll find out over the next couple of hours here in Minnesota.